One of the things I'm exceptionally passionate about is the deep dive into consciousness studies, into the internal sciences, um, into something that I consider to be way beyond the discipline of psychology, and into the understanding of life itself. And it seems like, I don't know, it seems almost like not a derailing, but a deepening of what I used to do. I mean, I used to actually really be interested in all of this stuff, just not with the language and the perspective that I have now. And I was like most people, I would say, when I started a degree in psychology when I was, 19 or so years old. And I bailed, and I wasn't really sure why. At the time, I knew it was because, well, for sure, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I was disenchanted by the classes I was taking, and it was very surface for me. And I thought, you know what? Right away, I thought, I don't want to classify and diagnose. I want to connect. And now I'm not poo-pooing the discipline of psychology to say that every psychologist, just dissects and diagnoses. There are many, many people who are doing some really fantastic work. What I'm saying is that I felt that rather than counsel, I sort of, I guess what happened ended up happening years and years and years later is this expansion in my, I guess, coaching ability or mentoring or being mentored as well. So I needed to go through all of those experiences of being mentored and nurtured and guided, myself as well. So I'm just like every day I get up, lit up with, okay, I want to listen to this teaching today and I want to explore this idea. And it's not, it used to be where I was gathering facts in my mind, right? I would be smarter and I would know more about the way I tick, and then the way, not even the way other people tick, but a way to help other people with how they thought they weren't ticking properly, right? Like I have, all these exclamations of people saying, I have mental illness, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have, ownership of these overwhelm, all these things that we deem to be negative. We don't want to feel it. We want to shut it up. We want to shut it down. And this is what our medical model has led us to believe. This is a cultural belief. It's a deep, deep, deep conditioning. And so to find the guidance can lead people to feel like they are broken, they're wrong. They don't want to find guidance because a lot of the supports that are available are actually perpetuating that very belief that you're wrong, you're broken, let's shut it up and give you a medication or even a meditation that's going to shut up that very natural response to some kind of stimuli in life, some kind of event, some kind of situation that isn't quite harmonious, and that's okay. So dis-ease is a teacher. It's something that it's part of a process. It's the end phase of a process. It is a recognition that something is going on under the hood in the subconscious and the unconscious, that we aren't aware of but can feel, right? So I have a lot more to say about that, but in this podcast, I really just want to address what I was actually approached yesterday, and it's probably because I did a series of 25 free sessions for like youth, and they were called, I can't remember, I called them some kind of like some kind of session. It was, I can't remember. It was about, it was about teaching, some skills, some ways to de-escalate or to get, meditate, to return to a sense of harmony, balance, wellness, calm, when you're feeling pretty ramped up or disconnected or depressed or anxious. And it was right in the middle or at the beginning of where everybody was shutting down shops. And, I don't actually use the word, like when COVID hit, that is not a thing for me. And I'm not saying I'm denying any of the experiences people had at all. It's just that this whole thing wasn't, I don't want to define it as, like this one thing hitting our population. I think it was really like a great opportunity, and I think a lot of people really suffered and still are. Yet it's it was a great opportunity to see what really have a good look at our lives. And some people are still figuring that out. Like when you are pulled out of a cultural, your cultural stupor, like, and we kind of are sometimes, like, and this is the thing, we can become entranced in our day-to-day lives because there's routine and there's safety in that routine, and it can make sense to us. And I'm not saying we go around willy-nilly all the time. What I actually encourage is flow. That's cool when you're in the flow. But when we're in that day to day, we sometimes don't see where it's not serving us until we're literally rocked out of it, like the hero's journey, right? And I feel like it was a collective hero's journey and also an individual one. And so I was approached, I would say, well, like I think 2 days ago, from someone who was asking me if, what resources I have for teens, youth, and if I would be interested in leading some more sessions for groups of teens. And of course I am. I'm actually just about to launch a new membership where teens can show up every Wednesday and experience a shifting out of reactivity and into responsiveness and the ability to respond, and the responsibility to take your life into your own hands and know that you can, right? Know that you can. So I teach adults this, or coach them into this. And I also am very, very involved in a lot of lives in my personal life, with youth, that are part of my family, in my sphere circle, um, and also, parents, with, engaged with parents who have kids in this age group, and that I work with professionally as well. So it's a deep, deep desire of mine to continue to coach and guide everyone actually into a deeper connection to themselves, to others, and to the world around them, the universe. And all of the work that I've done so far has really led me to this point, even through, understanding functional medicine and understanding all kinds of different disciplines and different models of health and different modalities and therapies and, entry points, I call them, has led me to this point of this understanding that the ultimate, the ultimate unraveling of any kind of chronic dis-ease, whether it be in physical, mental, emotional, soul, spiritual. I think I said that. Um, any of those, the key is to reconnect to self, to others, to the world around us. It's a reconnection. And so when I got this email, the person said, we're finding that a lot of youth are having a hard time reintegrating into society. And a couple things came to mind when she said that. I also have a series called Reclaiming Our Children from the Pop Culture Trance. And in that series, I talk about cultural conditioning. I talk about education and how, and, what we believe and what things that we, perpetuate, these belief systems we perpetuate in our communities and in our current pop culture environment. And I also posit that pop culture is potentially usurping a true and deep need. It's sort of on the surface like a band-aid for a true and deep need for deep culture, for true culture, for it's almost where our culture has lost its soul. And that's not everyone, right? There are some pockets and families and people that are, they practice within their families, but generally speaking, as an overall or overarching culture in the West, as for sure anyway, there is there's entertainment, there's, you know, I don't know, there's entertainment, but there isn't a depth, and so it comes away feeling empty, where all of us feel disconnected from each other rather than connected through a deep and soulful culture. So when okay, I'm going to come back to that email that I keep wandering away from. So in it, this person was saying, there's this uh, inability to reintegrate. And then I thought, what if, and there are many reasons for, like I think it's a combination, of reasons why, youth may be feeling disconnected, lost, moorless, despondent, depressed, anxious, fearful. I think there are many different reasons for that, and some of them being, perhaps like a lack of support or guidance other than what they might be experiencing in pop culture, which is really based on material, it's based on money, it's based on advertising. It is not it's disconnecting, right? Because the purpose of advertising is to disconnect yourself from your own knowing so that you seek an answer elsewhere and you buy their stuff. That's what it's for. And so it's become very pervasive in our environment to see an inundation of advertising and of these beliefs and these shoulds and these things, these expectations put upon us, and normalizing disconnection from self, others, universe, the world around us, nature. That's normalized. It's if we eat food that is actually unprocessed, on the, it may say, let's say it's packaged, it will say made with real fruit. Well, if I bought something that said strawberry, I'm pretty sure I'm expecting it to be strawberry. And now we don't even expect that. We don't expect the real. We don't, and so what I'm thinking too, it's more than our practices. And it is certainly is part of that. Like, we can't have healthy brains, I mean, that's not possible if we don't give it the right information, right? Like, if we're eating out, and not eating food, I tell people just eat real food, eat whole food. If we're not sleeping, if we're on blue lights until all hours of the day, if we are not able to communicate, we're not able to be heard, if we're over and over again, exposed to really harsh and maybe violent or disturbing, like images or thoughts over and over and over again, and that's become normalized. If we experience trauma and aren't able to, or traumatic, like events that have become trauma because we're not able to move through the emotional process, if we're constantly dumbing down our bodies and our minds and our souls by trying to control it all, trying to suppress it rather than express it, right? All of those things will lead to what we're considering to be pathologies, like, because we pathologize the feelings that come out of that. We pathologize depression. We think it's something wrong with us. And I would say that it's not something wrong with us. It's something wrong with the situation. There's something disharmonious. There's something inaccurate about what we're being taught, what we think about ourselves and each other, what we're supposed to do, what roles we're required to play. It is a rejection of what is not congruent with what we want to live in our lives, how we access joy, right? So It's about the emptiness that we're experiencing in this pop culture. It is an experience of disconnect and a desire to reconnect, and or it's a going in. It's a time when it's required for us to separate from the pack and to figure stuff out on our own. And that's part of the hero's journey as well. We don't stay alone, but we separate in some way to individuate, to figure this stuff out, because it's one thing to be taught something and expected to believe it, and that's just a belief system. And it's another thing entirely to be shown something and for you to discover it on your own, your children, your youth, to discover these things. And it becomes a knowing, right? It becomes what the truth actually is, rather than something that has been told to them and kind of, forced upon them, despite the, maybe even benevolent, loving, place that it's coming from, right? It might be something that we want someone to learn that we think is beneficial, yet when it's told, it's not the same as when it's experienced. And so we need to give our youth these experiences, these opportunities for experience. And I think a lot of the disconnect and a lot of the strife and struggle is because when you remove yourself from the normalcy that we believe to be our reality, like our reality, when we're moved from that. So we're away from school, like that we were used to. We were away from the specific social circles. We're removed from, you know, this way that we had already always done things, and we're able to reflect. If we're guided in that reflection and saying this is normal, this is normal because this is a brilliance of your mind, body, soul. This is your journey, is to figure out, and not just figure out in your mind, but also just explore and discover, with your heart, what the next steps are, right? Like what it is that how it's changed you, and how you're able to see things in a completely different way when you're removed from it. So then we expect everyone to reintegrate into a world that no longer either exists, because it doesn't, or that was not serving you in the first place. So we say you need to go back to school, and Johnny doesn't want to go back to school. And but there are definitely developmental stuff, that can be missed when we are isolated rather than, separate. Like that's a different thing entirely that I'm not going to quite talk about here, because that's another phenomena that we're seeing happening. But I want to just touch on that and say that I'm recognizing that there is an inability to connect at all, because, eye contact, touch, you know, expression on the face, all of that is essential for not only development, and it's not socialization. I don't even want to use that word. I really actually don't like that word. I don't want to be socialized. I don't want to be programmed in a way. I want my kids and my youth and like the people I care about to be connected. I don't care about socialization. If you're connected, I mean, socialization's a moot point. So all of those things, the touch, the expression, the smiles, the voice, right? Even like the body language, everything. I mean, all of that is essential for not just like I said, development, but also a sense of safety. Like I said, connection with each other. And that is just as important as eating, drinking, sleeping, breathing. It's just as important. And it actually, I mean, if it's one of those essential needs, basic human needs for life itself. And we know this from many studies that have been done with children who've been severely neglected, with people who are in, homes and don't have a lot of connection with the outside world, or don't have a lot of people visiting them. We see this, and it's a slow, and it's a slow death in a way, and actually can be not just in a way, but in reality, in this physical body. So what we're expecting is this reintegration into perhaps a world that is not congruent. And I think that our youth are much more astute than a lot of us adults are. And they're perhaps recognizing that this is not a lot of things that they were told, or that they believed from birth, that they're being presented with or offered. It's not enough. It's not even on the right track. It's not okay that this is not enough. It's not okay. And for me, it's not either. And this isn't about being angry and like this, in a way that is not useful, that is toxic, that creates violence and more closed, ears, nobody hearing each other. It's not about blame. It's not about being a victim. It's not about, it's literally railing against, or no, it's literally feeling or expressing a, an injustice. Like, this is not okay for me. And I don't want to return to this. I don't know what I need, but I do know what I don't need. Right. And so I think it's up to us parents, us mentors, us teachers, if you're in that, system, like in that world. Um, it's up to us, people who care about each other, really, and care about our youth, and to allow those opportunities, to provide those opportunities for reconnection, not socialization, reconnection. And so, and not pseudo. Like, I love what Mark Gaffney says about the pseudo, and it's the surface. It's without penetration. It's without the connection, without the unity. And so we have things like, and I've thought about this so much throughout the years, and have come down to what addiction, part of what addiction is this seeking of, I don't know what you're seeking. You could be seeking connection. You could be seeking joy, happiness, expressiveness, all these different things that feel pretty darn good. And we feel empty, right? And so there's this need to fill up the empty spaces if we're not comfortable with feeling filled with emptiness rather than drained and empty. And so there's all kinds of addiction, including tech, that we're seeing happen. Really, really, it's a very huge issue. And the reason why I say issue too is that I don't want to go down the road of blaming and saying, you're broken because you use something so that you feel better. I don't think that at all. I actually don't think the people who do that, I think we all have well, most of us are addicted to something in some capacity, and it's to some degree. It's just looking at that and saying, what am I really needing? What is it that I need that I'm trying to get through this other mode? Because if it's leaving you feeling worse the next day and needing another hit of it, then I'm wondering if it's addiction, if it doesn't fill you up from the inside, right? But that's another point that, would be talked about. I can explore in another podcast. But what I want to say about youth, mental and emotional wellness, deep wellness, really, is this recognition that there is a certain point when you go on that hero's journey, when you are separated from that normalcy, what we consider to be, our truth right now. And then rather than be disconnected, you connect and reconnect with yourself through the whole process of having a mentor to help to guide you, to face and to befriend at times the dragons and the demons and all those things that looked so frightening that when you looked at them shine the light in the corner, that, demon turned out to be like a coat rack or something, right? Um, when you move through the abyss, the really tough part, usually with the love and support of your mentors. And not even, sometimes it's not even love and support, it's literally just wisdom. And it's an allowance for you to have that experience, and sometimes on your own. It's like together, but never alone. You can be never, what is it? Alone, but never lonely. I love that. Alone, but never lonely. Um, and instead of entranced, right, in this pop culture and wanting to push our kids into to be re-entranced, how about they're enlivened, right? They're enlivened and recognize when a change needs to happen and when that's perfectly and completely okay. That's perfectly and completely okay. Anyway, all right. So I'm sure I have more to say about that. But if you want to know more about that, some of my thoughts are put into a little bit more of an organized fashion in my series called Reclaiming Our Children from the Pop Culture Trance. And I have the first set of videos out already. They're on my website, carlaathertoninspired.com. But it's 3 parts. So the first part is made up of 4 videos. So have a look at that. And then, well, depending on when you listen, I could have all of them done. So anyway, check it out. I'm also launching a membership, and even if you're listening to this, way into the future, my intent is that once these are started, they don't end. As long as I'm here and really wanting to sit around the fire, return our families and our community to, to a space of like true culture where we have wisdom keepers, mentors, elders, again, that whole idea, that whole vision of sitting around the fire where our children can feel received and enlivened, enlightened, and where our elders and mentors and, wisdom keepers and all of those people can assist in that process, be in, take on that responsibility, and the ability to respond to the needs of our youth, but also learn from them, right? The youth keep us innovative, creative, pushing forward, right? It's so all of us evolve each other in this beautiful gathering around the fire. So that is the exact, I suppose, not just the feeling, but the experience that I am intending to create in these groups. And I have my adult group, the Deep Wellness Sessions with Adults, already running, and I am starting Deep Wellness Sessions for youth shortly. I don't know exactly what the date would be, but if people get on the waiting list or jump in, if it's already started when you listen, I would be happy to have your youth in there, learning the skills. And I suppose it would be a skill to deepen their experience of life and not to turn off their emotions and feelings, but to be able to respond to them, to know why they're there, to truly accept and move through and take, agency in their lives, to find peace and calm, not just peace, I would say calm, harmony every day. Pretty cool. So I'm excited about that, and check it all out. And yeah, have a great day. I'll see you on the flip side. May you and your family be well.